Peace, everyone. So obviously, most of y'all know that we wanted to set up this conversation, and I think Brother Reggie might be running late or hasn't responded to the link yet, but he did agree to the time, so we're gonna give him time to get in. But in the meanwhile, what we'll do is we'll start the conversation, bring in Brother Jared, and let him introduce himself. And what I'll do is I'm gonna actually show y'all the rundown of how we supposed to have the format, right? But I'll let Jared introduce himself right quick, and then I'll show you the format, and then Jared can actually start with his first affirmative constructive, and he pretty much going to argue the point of what he think Reggie is saying or positioning, and then he's going to critique and debunk it for up to 7 minutes. And so if Reggie comes in, we'll let him start. But go ahead, Jared, introduce yourself for the people who might not know you.
So first of all, peace and greetings to you and everybody. My name is Jared Ball. I am, among other things, a professor of Africana and Media or Communication Studies at Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm a co-founder of Black Power Media, blackpowermedia.org, and I do a show there called iMiXWHATiLiKE. And more about me and my work and that of others I've worked with can also be found at iMiXWHATiLiKE.org. And I do also want to plug that I'm the author of The Myth and Propaganda of Black Buying Power, which you can get for free in its digital form at iMiXWHATiLiKE.org. So I know. So I just want to say very quickly. So again, thanks to you, Geechee, for hosting this and putting us in touch. I know that some time ago through, I think, a mutual connect, Brother Sinclair Skinner, the very pro-crypto and pro-Black people brother who was a co-convener of a Black people and blockchain conference at Howard University, and had invited me to be on a panel there, where I laid out some of my initial criticisms of how Black people and others are being encouraged to engage with cryptocurrency. And Reggie reached out to me in email a few weeks ago and said that he wanted to debate me on those topics, on my argument. I agreed. It took a little bit of time, and I thought we had arranged it here for today. But if not, I just want to say if something has come up or we got confused somewhere or something happened, I don't know. I'm definitely down to do this again, do this in other formations, to have, certainly if Reggie doesn't make it here today, to have him or anyone else respond to what I'm going to say, and we can continue the conversation. So, that said, following the format, I did write up a quick initial statement.
So let me show the format real quick, and then
go ahead.
Again, so about the time we was working on the time, and then we obviously got a time that he agreed to. So again, if he shows up, we can rock out, but if not, then we'll figure out what we have to do. But let me share my screen real quick, and then I'll show you how we're gonna flow. So it's pretty much at this point we're gonna Jared speak up to 7 minutes, and he's gonna position himself to say what he think Reggie is saying. Reggie believes he's gonna critique that, debunk it, and that's up to 7 minutes. He has this prepared. After that, myself, you guys in the audience, as well as Reggie, can ask clarifying questions, right? So it's not a time to argue or tell him how wrong he is, but ask him the question in a clarifying manner, right? And then after that, we're supposed to have presentations of positions and solutions for each of them. That's up to 5 minutes, and then a 3-minute rebuttal for each of them. And then at the end is the gloves is off, and they have a dialogue which you guys can participate in. Hold on, so I think Reggie's calling right now, so let me
okay.
Let me check it, and Jared, you can get started.
Sure. Well, if you want, I mean, I can hold off on a second if that's him talking about coming on. Otherwise, yeah.
Okay.
Give me a second.
Video and audio. Yeah. All right. Now, if I need to text you the link to your cell phone too, I can do that. But I send it to your email and also your the message, the group message. Okay. Okay, no worries. Not chat. Do you see us? All right. So yeah, I'm gonna send you that again here. But once you click on that link, you can go on like a StreamYard. Yeah. Hey, text that number in this message right here. Cause I didn't write it down real fast. All right, you gonna text it? All right. Okay. Okay. All right. No worries. So yeah, he was just having a technical difficulties. He's actually trying to get on right now. So,
Good.
All right, bet. Okay. All right. I'll send you. All right, bet. So all I have to do. Sorry for the difficulties, everyone. Thank you for staying in. I'm gonna text him the link real quick, and then he should be on right shortly. So, Jared, I assume you don't mind going first.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't, but it doesn't matter.
All right.
I'm good either way.
And Kalanji from New York. Kalanji, these New York cats be on color people.
Kalanji. No, he's from Connecticut. You gonna get him upset.
My bad, Kalanji. My bad. I see Kalanji in the comments. I thought he's from up top.
If it's the same Kalanji, that's Connecticut.
All right, man. All right, there's text to him. He should be on shortly. But yeah. So you got the format. You want to go first? That's cool.
I'm fine with that. That's fine. That's fine. And
we can let the people pick who want to go first.
They can flip the coin.
Yeah, I was gonna flip a coin, but yeah, I don't got a coin. and these coins around here kind of heavy.
Is there a way to given what we're here to discuss, is there a way to flip digitally a Bitcoin? Is there a heads and tails on that we can flip? I mean, they do. I'm sure there's like a digital like flip thing, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can.
I'm sure there has to be, right?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. There you go. So brother Reggie, we want to know if you got the technology to flip some kind of coin for us. So who go first?
Whoever wants to go first can go first. Doesn't really matter. Just an informal discussion. So that'll informal.
Definitely. So Reggie, I don't know if you saw the format, but let me show the format one more time so that we could be clear. Y'all got to forgive all these links, man. All right, so we're gonna open up with the first speaker is going to speak up to 7 minutes. You don't have to take your full 7 minutes, but up to 7 minutes. You're going to state what you think the other person is arguing or their position, and you're going to critique or debunk it. After you go for 7 minutes, myself and the other speaker in the audience will have time to ask clarifying questions in the cross-examination point. Now that when you're not arguing or debating at that point, you're not trying to like prove the person wrong, but you literally ask them a clarifying question in a manner in which it could be disagreeable, but it's in a manner in which clarifying. And then after that, you both will have up to 5 minutes to state your position and solution on your own position and solution. Each of y'all will have 3 minutes to rebuttal. And then we'll close out the conversation with the open dialogue, closing statements from you two, and the gloves will be off a little bit more, and y'all can kind of dive into some of the points that you made or didn't make.
Okay.
So
Well,
with that said,
I'm not trying to prove anybody wrong. So
absolutely.
Well, let's let the brother go first because I'm not sure what his position is, so I can't comment on it. So, he goes first. I'll be happy to hear it. I didn't even agree with it, depending on what he said.
All right. So Jared, whenever you start, I can start the time.
All right, go ahead. All right. So as I understand the format, what I have written here goes as follows. Reggie Middleton argues in favor of free markets, capitalism, and the idea that new technology offers new ways towards wealth. By definition in history, and is already being demonstrated today in terms of access to blockchain technology and accumulation of cryptocurrencies and the wealth associated with it, labeled as free, and an economic or social system called capitalism is the free and easy extraction of wealth from the labor of the rest of us and its consolidation along with that power derived via those new technologies, which are themselves derived from the exploitation of working people among an ever decreasing, and then that wealth that is accumulated is consolidated among an ever decreasing few. In other words, systems and what they produce intensify existing social relationships, which can only be reversed by an equal or countervailing force of political power. Secondly, Reggie Middleton argues that encrypted direct payments or transactions and the unregulated creation of capital markets, including the use of tech he is a patent holder of, is good for business and the world. By definition, this cannot result in redistribution of the wealth we all create and cannot be used as a vehicle by oppressed people to quote unquote catch up. Black people do not have incomes or wealth capable of being invested with returns that will topple the wild imbalance of wealth in the world. Only organized political power can do that. Thirdly, until contacting me, inviting this debate, I had never heard or read Reggie Middleton claim any of his work or investment strategies could do for the Black world, or anyone else for that matter, what only revolutions can do. And as such, he was never seen by me as someone to engage in a debate or in any sort of, back and forth. That is to say, those who operate within capitalism for personal gain and who are open about that are not to me the same as those who would then attach or attempt to replace radical struggle for political power as our only real hope, that same endeavor. So in other words, if it's personal and about a general philosophy of markets and capitalism, we may disagree on that, but I don't feel a particular need to challenge that. And then lastly, ultimately, what I see Reggie Middleton doing is promoting, and others, is promoting an old and worn and heavily propagated mythological distraction called Black capitalism, designed intentionally to prevent our assumption of political power. What we need is political power, or in other words, the ability to define and manage the wealth that we all create and have it distributed in such a way that we don't have the imbalances and inequality that we have today. So that's essentially it in a nutshell, what I think he is arguing and why I disagree. So I don't know that I need to take more time. I'm happy to have us, move on, but and we can deal with anything in terms of clarification later on. But anyway, that's my initial.
Okay, so with the initial statement, Reggie, any clarifying questions? And obviously people from the audience, you can ask clarifying questions as well, but any clarifying questions with any of the statements that he made just now?
Okay. Well, I have a few, but I like to make like an adjustment to the format because 7 minutes is a long time for me, and he makes several points. I have to remember I'm not writing them down. So if you have more of a discussion, just polite, you can moderate in case we interrupt or talk over each other, but that would be easier for me. Would you mind?
Okay. Jerry, you okay with that?
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Absolutely.
The first premise or issue is you're saying Reggie Middleton argues, and I don't recall arguing anything that you stated. So there's a misnomer there. Okay. My assumption is that you are in favor of redistribution of wealth. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we're at loggerheads. I disagree with that. Redistribution of wealth will do nothing but have that wealth return to a similar distribution over a period of time. What we need, what Black people need, and all people who may be oppressed, is equal opportunity. So a redistribution of opportunity serves capitalism well, and it will serve Black people well. Okay, giving someone money who doesn't deserve money, right, does not help anybody in the long term, possibly not even the medium term. Preventing someone who deserves success, access to said success, is a problem. That's anti-capitalism, and that's what creates structural and institutional racism, or that is what structural and institutional racism uses to persevere over time. Okay, so let's suppose you make $80,000 a year. Me taking $30,000 from you and giving it to somebody else, whether arbitrarily or from a strategic perspective, is morally and ethically wrong. And if you don't believe in morals and ethics, that's cool. It also doesn't serve a purpose to benefit the person that we were giving that capital to. Now, giving them the same access to the opportunities that you have is a totally different story. That's how you help Black people. That's my opinion, but that's as I've seen from experience as well. Okay, do you agree or disagree with that?
I disagree with all of that. So just to be clear, when I was saying you argue, I was talking about sort of that is your position in public discussion. So when I've watched your presentations, your interviews, your discussions of your economic analyses, all I was saying is you position yourself as a free market capitalist, as you are describing again here. So that's all I meant by argument.
Not really true though. But that's also that's even though it's not true, it's not really germane to this discussion. So we can move.
Oh, on. Okay, my bad, because I feel like I'm literally quoting from watching. I've watched like a number of anyway. So that's all I meant.
So real quick, one thing. I think I heard Reggie on some videos give his definition of capitalism. Jared, I obviously know you have a definition, and there's people in the comments that have a definition. Maybe we should kind of like see what we think our definition, especially because Reggie made the point that people don't deserve wealth. Like everybody deserves wealth. So I guess we could start with our definitions of capitalism or understanding of capitalism.
Well, part of it, in fact, this is how I was going to respond to what Reggie was just saying, that part of what I think he is just describing there is part of the, again, intentionally propagated capitalist mythology about who's owed what and how wealth is created. So what is often left out of the fact, and that's why I worded my introductory remarks the way I did, is that we all contribute to wealth creation. This is the idea that somehow only capital investors and the capitalists themselves are owed the wealth that is created from the exchange of labor and the extraction of resources is part of the mythology. So I'm saying we're all creating this wealth. It just goes to a handful of people. The other thing is we definitely disagree. I don't want a world of equal opportunity. I want a world of equal outcome, because to the point I'm getting at, this idea that only the wealthy are creating the wealth and therefore deserve it all is the mythology. Almost everything that they're working from comes from publicly funded education, publicly funded science and technology, publicly funded a society that protects and gives laws to allow them to lead the lives that they're leading. The people who do the work from the farm to the table, who do the military, so all of us contribute to this society that allows for this capitalist class to lay claim to all the wealth that they get. And that's why I'm saying we fundamentally disagree. So finally, if I did make 80,000, were I to be one of the handful of tiny few, less than 5%, I believe, or 6% who actually do make that kind of money. If I did make 80,000 and 30 of it were taken every year, but I did not have to come back around and pay for things like healthcare, education, including higher education, who knows what we could add on. If that money was going to creating a society, I would happily give that up, because I do come out of a tradition that says we should have organized labor, and we should be willing as consumers to pay more for what the organized labor produces, so that the people doing the labor don't have to suffer the way that they do here. But capitalism forces that kind of inequality, which is why I am opposed to it.
Okay, so I put, well, let's try and take smaller chunks, because I don't want to jump in and interrupt you. But when it goes too far, it's very difficult for me to have the back and forth.
I was just responding to the last things you said there, but I'm happy that we can break it up any way you like.
Okay, so here, let me propose a hypothetical to you. Since you don't believe in equal opportunity, but you believe in equal outcomes, I think you have an arithmetic issue. So you and I race, okay? I'm 6'2". I've never lost a race in my life. I'm very fast. I'm 54, and I still beat a lot of 20-something-year-olds until I pull an ACL or something, because, you know, age catch up with a brother, right? You and I race. I'm not allowed to beat you, even though I'm faster than you are. So every time we race, it's a tie. Do you think that would be productive in choosing the fastest people to go on to a race that represents a country, like the Olympics?
But that's not the. That's not. Oh, okay. All right. Mm-hmm.
Second, every child we have, the outcome is the same. Not opportunity to race, but the outcome of the race is legislatively the same. That's what it sounds like you're saying. Or are you saying that the fastest person should win the race? Tell me, out of those two, we have a binary 1 and 0.
But I'm saying that's what I'm saying. You've created a false binary. So that's not how the world is set up, and that's not how capitalism works. So what capitalism would do is to say,
before you get into an extended thesis on capitalism, okay, equal opportunity versus equal outcomes.
But what I'm saying is, I want them both. What capitalism proposes is that you can only have one or the other, and only allows for what they claim is equal opportunity, which has never existed and does not exist in a capitalist economy. But I'm saying is, we should have an equal opportunity, and then also equalize the outcome, because again, even if you are the fastest person on the track, the people who are there to prepare the track, the people who are there to fire the gun to start the race, the people who are there to pick up the ticker tape when you win all your races, they are all producing and part of the process of producing the prize in the race itself, and should all benefit equally. It shouldn't just go to the person that wins the race, especially if they've been set up over historically through generations and inheritance and whiteness and maleness, etc., to be given a head start in that race, while the other people racing are held back.
Time out.
Okay.
Answering the question I'm asking. Okay. You take me for equal outcomes. I said I'm for equal opportunity. Those words have specific meanings. Okay. Now, equal opportunity can lead to equal outcomes if the participants are equal and all other things are remaining equal. Okay. You're discussing they. I'm not talking about they. I'm talking about us, you and me. Okay. So we have two races. We have one where we have a legislative equal outcome. We have one where we have a legislative equal opportunity. Are you saying that the more beneficial one to produce the fastest people in this country would be one where we force everybody to end that race at the same time, or we allow the fastest person to win? Out of those two, which would be the best?
Again, the parameters you set for this question have nothing to do with how capitalism works. So
here's something. So I think because we talking about wealth, we talking about fiat currency, cryptocurrency, and these things, maybe we should, instead of bringing it in from the race and the running faster and all this other stuff, let's talk about cryptocurrency and how you think cryptocurrency might create an equal opportunity or something like that, and then we can kind of respond from there.
Okay, but in order for us to do that, we have to have understanding, of to get the semantics straight. Okay, and it seems like we're refusing to go to a semantics. If you want to jump to crypto, okay, jump to crypto. Okay, so Brother Jared, in 3 sentences or less, okay, what is crypto to you?
Cryptocurrency.
Crypto.
It's a cryptocurrency. Crypto,
CRYPTO.
Well, initially, as it was the case with an article I just was talking about the other day, it means cryptography. It means secrecy. It means intelligence and surveillance, which is exactly what it affords through the blockchain and all of that.
So the blockchain industry, the blockchain industry, as you understand it, is cryptography.
No, that's not what I'm saying. So again, that's why I'm attempting to explain myself,
Well,
but I'm trying to be clear on if we're talking about no, I'm saying cryptocurrency is a digital currency that uses the blockchain technology. So I don't need to take a test to understand whether or not what I'm trying to get to is cryptocurrency. And what I really think it is as I said before, a digital speculative a digital it takes speculative investment to the digital realm. That's all it does. That's all it is.
Hold on. Let's try this.
Nothing.
3 or 4 sentences. The blockchain industry is what? What is crypto as an industry? What is it? 3 sentences so I can jump, go ahead.
So as I said, cryptocurrency is a digital currency that uses blockchain technology, which is itself consolidated in terms of access and the wealth it produces, that allows for another realm of speculation to occur within a capitalist economy that assures that a handful of people who are already benefiting will continue to benefit and others will continue to feed, as similarly as the case with all of Wall Street, the Ponzi scheme feeding upwards of wealth that is transferred to the top.
Okay, so here's one problem we have right now. The brother doesn't know what crypto is. Okay, I'm asking him about blockchain industry. I'm asking him about crypto. Notice he keeps returning to cryptocurrency continuously.
Well, then
that's what you explain it to us. Go ahead.
So break it down.
More aggressive than I am when I'm speaking because I'm talking and I'm allowing you to speak. Okay, you've avoided, at least from my perspective, each and every single question I've asked. Okay. Cryptocurrency, in terms of the industry, is a very, very small, minuscule portion of the industry. Very small. Okay. What the industry is software, very much like the internet, right? There's currency that goes through the internet. There are currency applications on the internet. The internet is not currency. So what you have is a basic misunderstanding of the industry, and then you're forming conclusions based upon that misunderstanding, which is creating misinformation. Okay. And then you're propagating that on. Okay, now it sounds like you're saying it creates inequality. The inequality stems from the fact that not everybody is getting equal access or participating in the technology. You have a new technology, and that technology has the potential to increase efficiencies, increase wealth. You participate in it, you have increased efficiencies and increased wealth. You choose not to participate in it, or you're prevented from participating in it, you become poorer. Relatively. Now, wealth is relative. If I gave everybody here $30 and I had $40, I'm wealthier than you are. Now, $40 might not seem wealthy on an absolute basis or an anecdotal basis, but wealth is not absolute or anecdotal. It's relative. If I have $100 million and you two brothers have $600 million, I am poor. So we all should participate in this technology as much as possible. And those who don't participate get poor relative to others. If you preach and you urge others not to participate, you're basically urging poverty. You're urging relative poverty. So you think crypto and then you say cryptocurrency, by default, you don't know what you're talking about. Because most of these applications are not currency applications. The first popularized blockchain technology was the Bitcoin blockchain. And the Bitcoin blockchain is a database. It's basically a network, a programmable network. On top of that network was written a digital currency application, Bitcoin, the lowercase b. Now it's proliferated and all types of technologies are now growing. Most of these applications, the vast majority, are not currency applications. So the discussion of cryptocurrency makes zero sense in this context. Now I asked you multiple times about what you thought it was. You kept defaulting to cryptocurrency. It's a wrong conversation, wrong discussion. Okay. Now, cryptocurrency in and of itself is very useful to those in marginalized areas where you have weak currencies. We have currencies that depreciate significantly relative to global reserves, such as the US dollar. Okay. So if you use crypto, you avoid things such as sanctions, which is a rough conversation due to regulatory issues. You avoid oppression through depreciation of currencies. Okay, most of the Western, Central, and East African nations have very, very weak currencies. Okay, they also, even though Africa as a continent is by far the wealthiest continent in the world, its people are the poorest people in the world from a continent perspective. This technology easily solves that by giving them access to global markets by going around the gatekeepers or going around the middlemen. You are advocating, and with all due respect, I'm going to say ignorantly, but not ignorantly in an offensive way, ignorantly in the actual English language, as in not knowing and not having the knowledge of, you're advocating the perpetuation of the colonialization of the people on that continent by saying, do not learn how to bypass the gatekeepers. It's bad.
So Reggie, are you saying that crypto, are you literally saying crypto is a liberation tool for the Africans on the continent and us in the diaspora? That's what you're saying?
No, I'm saying crypto is a technology. It's a platform-based technology, right? Wise use of it allows for the liberation, because the premise behind crypto is a peer-to-peer transfer of value without the need for an authoritative third party. Another word for authoritative third party is colonizer. Okay, I'm going to give you two examples. Let's take Nigeria.
Right before your example, so you said wise use of it will help us, and so this is actually why I wanted to flow in the structure, so that way we could make clear points and respond clear. So I want Jared to ask you a question or respond to the concept of this being a liberating tool if it's used correctly.
Okay, well, let me explain it so you give them some context to answer them, because right now it's still focusing on currencies, which is, it's just a misnomer. We're going to take Nigeria, because I spent some time in Nigeria. I developed products specifically for Nigeria, right? Nigerian Stock Exchange, etc. But let me tell you the global macroeconomic reality and then how that can be solved. You have Nigeria, which is one of the largest producers of oil in the world. The US is probably the largest. Then you have, the OPEC nation, Saudi, Russia, etc. Nigeria and Ghana are up there, okay? Nigeria has to sell their oil, right, to the global markets at a discount because it doesn't fit into the little narrow categories of West Brent crude, WTI, Saudi oil, etc. Despite the fact it is not significantly inferior. So they sell their oil to the markets at a discount through middlemen. The markets then take that oil and they refine it because there's no significant refiner on the continent, despite the fact that Nigeria and Ghana are two of the biggest producers in the world. Once it's refined into gas and other petroleum products, you know what they do? They turn it around and they sell it back to Nigeria at a premium. Poverty, okay? They take the natural wealth, they steal it from the continent, they make additional wealth out of it, and then you sell it at a premium, extracting more wealth out of it. That's oil in Nigeria. They do the same thing in Ghana. Also in Ghana, in South Africa, gold, which every major central bank in the world collects. Gold is either stolen directly from the continent or it's taken and sold at a discount, right, below spot. It's refined outside of the continent, and then the value is now pushed back in at a premium. And those are two examples of many of the wealth assets taken from Africa. With this technology, you can now give them direct access to the global markets, where they sell at the market price as they choose, without the authoritative third party. Another word for that is colonizer. From what I understand, the brother is saying is using the colonizer is good. Learning how to use the technology to avoid the colonizer is bad. No. There you go. I land my plane.
Okay,
okay.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Jared.
So yeah, there's a lot of confusion here. I just don't think it's with me, and I don't think it has anything to do with what Reggie was attempting to say there about what I don't or do understand. And I think really what is at heart here, and I don't think your answer, Reggie, was very clear and sounded more like your attempt to explain, given your struggles with the SEC, the difference between a token and a coin and a token and currency. cryptocurrency is predominantly discussed as an investment opportunity, and with having the potential of particularly with Bitcoin, replacing even the dollar and other national currencies as the dominant medium of exchange. So this whole thing of saying it's not about currency, et cetera, is nonsense. And I already explained in my introductory statement that I understand the difference between cryptocurrency as digital currency and as a specific software technology that uses a broader and much more expansive technology of blockchain. What I was saying was also that just like the existing colonial relationship, none of these relationships change through the development of a new medium of exchange or a currency or a new technology. All of those are themselves tools of colonialism, used to expand and extend colonial power. So when we see things like the enormous pools of wealth being accumulated by a handful of people in the cryptocurrency world, using very consolidated exchange platforms like Binance and Coinbase, and then even the underlying technologies that allow us to access the blockchain, much like what we have now with the internet, where we have to pay for some ISP to gain access to a publicly funded and created, supposedly publicly owned medium of communication. The same thing is happening for access to blockchain. Again, allowing for gatekeepers, wealth to be again accumulated, and so on and so forth. So so people in Africa and elsewhere are not colonized or poor because of currency devaluation or because of a middleman for selling their oil. They're poor because the regulations, for instance, that determine how much or where they can sell those oils are set by public policy by colonizers. They're poor because the wealth that's produced by that sale is not managed and redistributed because of prior histories of wiping out the radical socialist, anti-colonial, anti-imperialist movements and installing capitalist puppets and neo-colonial elites who want to facilitate further exploitation, as is happening throughout Africa and elsewhere. And then lastly, lastly, what I would want to ask is, and for you to clearly explain, which I don't hear anywhere, is how does engagement in this software or the tech that you're saying is going to free people from colonialism, how does that actually happen beyond the claim itself? Because I've never heard or seen solid explanation for that.
Okay, so here we're going to draw a map, because what you did, brother, is an old school colonialist strategy. You did the ad hominem attack from the side. Okay, I don't recall this discussion being about the SEC, the difference between tokens and currencies. The ad hominem attack, I would want better from you, but we're going to let that go. Okay, so we're back on a discussion of currencies again, when I made very, very clear actual currencies are the vast minority of the applications of the technology. Okay, you keep running back to that point of currencies. So I'm going to have a slight discussion on currencies, right? You say, how does it help people? You contradicted yourself by saying that the technology of giving access to markets would not help African people. The African people are impoverished, not because they don't have access, but because they don't have access. I clearly said this technology can be used, right, to give access to the African peoples by allowing them to participate directly in the global markets. That is how it helps them. Is that possible? Yes, I built it myself. I built it with a team. I went over to Africa. I dealt directly with the Nigerian exchanges, the Ghanaian exchanges, Botswanian, etc. So not only is it possible, it's likely, right? If they adopt it. It's their adoption. They have to choose to adopt it. Now, as for how could it help Black people in general, am I a Black person? I'm going to help you out with that. Yes, right? Who do you think is the most influential person in all of crypto as of this minute? I'll let you answer that. Just give me a name, though, not like a long lecture. who do you think it would be?
You or Isaiah, maybe?
Okay. No, not the most influential Black person, the most influential person in the industry.
I mean, I don't know. Elon Musk, who knows? I don't know.
Elon Musk.
You tell us.
I purport that it's me.
Well,
Okay.
shit, I just said you. Then you.
I just want to make sure. That's why I don't want to give myself a pat on the back unduly. But why would it be me? Because I took the time back in 2013 and 2014 and 2015, 8, 9, almost 10 years ago, to learn, not to avoid, not to let someone else get access, but to learn how this stuff works. I saw what was not being done, and I did it myself. I filed for patent applications. My patents are broad and deep and strong, and not just in one country. And hopefully I might get them in other countries, but I have the world's largest economy and the world's third largest economy, which is also probably the world's second largest crypto economy. As of right now, you have out of the major currencies, because we're going to stick to currencies since the brother doesn't want to have a discussion on the actual topic. We're going to discuss currencies. Bitcoin, the most utilitarian portion of Bitcoin, is the Lightning Network, infringes on my patent. Okay? Infringes on a patent means they're using my idea, my invention, that the United States government and the Japanese government has given me permission to make a monopoly on. The second largest currency would be Ethereum. Infringes on my patent. Third, I don't have it memorized, but we have Ripple, right, which uses the XRP currency, but their primary business or revenue driver, which is on-demand liquidity, my idea, which was patented. This is a Black man. Now, if all young Black children, women, men, boys, and girls knew of my existence and knew this was possible, that many more Black children would try and do this. Okay? I'm not all that special. I simply tried and strived and had a little education, proper education, not academic matriculation, not rote memorization of times tables and 2 times 2, etc., but learning how the world actually works, how technology actually works, and how the geopolitical system works. Social macroeconomics, the whole nine.
So Reggie, did you get Jared's question just now?
If I'm not mistaken, his question was, how does it help Black people? Which I answered specifically, how it helps Nigeria and Ghana. Was that the question?
Jared, was that your question? How does it?
Not really. I mean, first of all, let's be clear, Reggie, and with your permission and Geechee's, we can publish the entire private chat that led to us setting this up, including the email exchange. There should be this whole thing that I didn't know what we were here to discuss is kind of silly on your part. So I mean, you know, it was very clear what I said at Sinclair's event that you initially emailed me about. It was clear what we were discussing there and what I said there. I've been very clear. So I don't appreciate that you're now saying that I somehow am not willing to discuss what we said that was the topic. It literally says the cryptocurrency debate and can cryptocurrency free Black people. So anyway, but that said, what I said also was not that Nigerians or anyone else was suffering because they did not have access to the technology. What I said was that the political power that determines what happens with the technology and the wealth that it creates is not in their hands, is not in their control, which is why all of the wealth that Nigeria and the rest of the African continent produces is extracted to the handful of people that have all the wealth today. So there has never been a point in history where access to technology has helped change the social relationships. This goes back to what I said in the very beginning. So the fundamental social relationship of labor being exploited, of land and resources being exploited, and wealth being extracted for redepositing in the bank accounts of digital wallets or otherwise of Western imperial elite, that's still going on. So access to the global market doesn't facilitate a change in that. If anything, it facilitates a greater ease of exploitation, because as everybody knows who knows anything about how investment works, it's not an issue of can I figure it out, as you claim you have, and therefore have that model replicated for others to figure out. The issue is, once I figured it out, I get the upper hand, because wealth can only end up under a capitalist economy in one place, the private accumulated hands of a few people. So, which leads us back to which is really the focus of my work on this issue, which is the propagated mythology, which, is you are demonstrating here, says if one Black person can do it and be demonstrated and shown to others that they can do it in this way, then it is possible that Black people and others can come up in this economy, when that is part of the mythology. Of course, your individual success and the position you've put yourself in vis-a-vis the technology is impressive, to be lauded, to be studied, et cetera, and so forth, but it can't be replicated, and the wealth that it creates will not be distributed and redistributed in such a way that changes the relationships and the material inequality that we see.
So you're wrong. With all due respect, I'm probably talking on to, you're simply wrong. Okay. Saying that my success can't be replicated is just nonsense. My success, if it is categorized as success, was simply replicating someone else's success, right? That's how you succeed. It's called learning. Okay. So
Reggie, I'm sorry, real quick. So are you hearing, so there's like 40 million Black people in America, right? So when you say replicated, you mean this is an answer for 40 million Black people, or less than 1% of the 40 million? Like, so when I think he's saying replicated, I'm saying, are you saying this is a solution for Black people to take all, or a very few percentage of Black people will be able to possibly replicate what you've done? Because I think there's a nuance in that.
Right, yeah, but that's not a nuance. That's an extreme. That's like, so are you 8 feet tall or 1.5 feet? There's a large middle ground, and most of the population sample size will be in the middle ground. Think of the bell curve. Okay, the more people who are exposed to the rules and knowledge of accumulating wealth, the more people will accumulate wealth. It's just that simple. When you go to school, instead of learning things that do not help you accumulate wealth, and instead of developing habits that cause you to whittle wealth away, if you learn rules on how to accumulate wealth and keep it and pass it along generationally, and pass it on generationally, right? Black people will accumulate wealth over time, relatively. It's just that simple. The brother's saying, shy away, and since we're refusing to have a discussion on the crypto industry, we're going to force on cryptocurrencies, we'll do it that way, okay? I'm going to ask him, we're not going to get onto the actual specifics. So a good example would be, he's saying that access to the global markets won't help Africa. It's lack of access to the global markets that's hurt Africa. You have artisanal miners who can sell gold directly at spot or just under spot, where now they sell it for pennies, literally pennies, okay? Because the technology allows them to communicate and transfer value directly overseas. To say that the ability to sell gold at $50 a gram versus $20 a gram won't help those who are selling gold is nonsensical to me. It simply doesn't make sense, right? Or you can have any other vendor, a farmer, etc. If you can sell at a higher price without increasing your costs, you become wealthier. By definition, it's math, right? To say that doesn't happen is the attempt to negate math.
What attempts to negate math is the claim that everybody can equally accumulate an infinite amount of wealth, and that this is not a zero-sum game. And this is why I said at the beginning that what is being done here, and this was what I was saying, Reggie. Initially, when I was coming across your work I would see that for years you offer your economic analysis in mainstream spaces, and did your thing with your platform and all of that, and with your patent and all of that. But again, what led me to not feel a need to engage in the way I do with some others is that you were not making claims in any of these spaces. I've seen you on many, actually more than I'd probably care to admit at this point, platforms and interviews and discussions, I have never seen you make these kinds of claims. The claims, the discussions are more along the lines of how individuals can make money and how white, black, whoever can get involved in who, you're not even discussing this in terms of race or oppression or colonization. It's usually just who, market advice or economic, standard economic advice. So this is why this is, but what it was ultimately being done here, and this is why I started with at the beginning, is just a rebranding of old black capitalist mythology that has, again, been intentionally created by the corporate industry, the corporate community, the advertising industry, the state, et cetera, to discourage black people from organizing for political power or to stop really anybody oppressed from organizing for political power, because it's political power that determines the trade and tariff agreements that determine not only who has access to the market, but again, the value of what's being traded, what is where what is being traded is coming from, where the wealth that's created ends up. All of that is public policy. All of that is political power. And all of that is what we are discouraged from when we are constantly being sold mythology of, if I can make it in capitalism, that therefore you can do it if I did it. And that is fundamentally the exact opposite. As I said before, even the most honest, blatant hedge fund managers are clear. I'm not going to tell you how to do what I'm doing, because then you will challenge me for what is a finite amount of wealth, to the extent that it's not being digitally created at the hands of the Hope and Cares Act type stuff. But anyway, so that's what I want to be clear, that I'm saying that the colonialism that is being suffered is changed by political power and a revolution of social relationships, not by access to markets and capital investment.
So real quick, Reggie, you did a temperature check when you asked Jared about crypto, and then I asked about the definition of capitalism. But I really want to know, just to have a temperature check, what is your concept or definition of capitalism, or even how you mentioned about black capitalism? What is your understanding of those two terms, to the best of your understanding?
I think black capitalism would be capitalism for black people, which is still capitalism. Okay. Capitalism is a social science term, which I'm not going to go into social science. I'm not a social scientist. I'll tell you from a financial economic perspective. It's basically survival of the economic fittest, right? Defined as those who strive the hardest, okay, with the most assistance, okay, and persevere. Pure capitalism is not welcome in this country, okay? And the reason is, if you go through Darwin's survival of the fittest theory, pure capitalism means that there's a constant struggle to take those from the top. Those on the top, their job is to remain on top. Those on the bottom, their job in a capitalistic realm is to reach for the top. I fear the brother Jared is attempting to teach young brothers and sisters, don't strive for the top. That's what I'm hearing consistently. Okay. If you don't strive for the top, you're not going to get there, guaranteed. In a pure capitalistic realm, right, those at the top will fall regularly, except for those who belong there. There's always going to be some who remain there simply because they fight harder, they're better, etc. But you won't have what you currently see in many developed nations, where you have multi-generational wealth. We're talking 15, 20, 30, 40 generations. Okay, that is done by gatekeeping. Okay, gatekeeping is rampant in the US. In a pure capitalistic environment, gatekeeping would not exist, because those gatekeepers would be taken out. So, like I said, in terms of wealth, everything's on a spectrum. Pure capitalism, pure socialism, neither exists in reality. Everything is along the spectrum. Okay, I'm talking ideally, the spectrum should be close to the middle. My personal preference is closer to the capitalism side. Now, in terms of when you research, I don't know how the brother Jared researches, but I would suggest to find a different method of researching. There's this thing as confirmation bias, where you find what it is you're looking for versus looking finding what's there. If you want to know what my feelings or actions or history was relative to XYZ, then look for it. If you type in Reggie Middleton in Nigeria, you see where I've done a lot of work in Nigeria, a lot. You want to know what I've done for, young Black youth? Type in Reggie Middleton teaches students.
Right. One more follow-up, and I'm sorry to interrupt. So you said survival of the fittest to the top. So would you say that white folks who are in America, who are thriving, or around the globe thriving in this pseudo-capitalism, not this free capitalism, you would say they didn't receive the wealth through violence and policy, but they receive it through grit, or something else? Is that what you're saying? Because it sounds like you said that
let me help you out. Okay.
Right.
I think the absolutes usually rarely work. Okay. Most extreme wealth came from violence and grit when it's extreme. The reason we have so much of it is because you took it. Okay. Right. But over time, some hustle, some use the gatekeeper method. Over time, usually the longer you go, the more the wealth persists. The gatekeeper method is usually the predominant, because it is very difficult to play 55 baseball games and win each and every one of them. Very difficult. But if you own an ump, right, and you own the scorekeepers, well, it's much easier to do it. That's gatekeeping. Okay. What I'm saying is, if you want a rise for Black people, you need to teach Black people how to do that.
So financial literacy is what you're saying?
No, you have to go beyond literacy, financial mastery. Okay, forget literacy. Okay. I don't care if every young Black man or young Black woman know how to read. I want them to produce the books, to own the publishers.
And last question. So financial mastery. How do political power or public policy relate to your concepts of financial mastery? How does that relate?
Political power always follows economic might, not the other way around, right? It's the economic might that controls the political power, okay? Always. Look at the history of mankind, okay? If you look at some of the power brokers, I forget who it was it Medici, or was it Medici, who said, I care not who makes the laws, just allow me to control the money. Okay, so politics, of course, and geopolitics, all that is very, very important. Okay, but it exists and works at the behest of economic might.
Okay,
it's just that simple.
Go ahead, Jerry.
So a couple of things. Again, we have fundamentally different understandings of even how capitalism works or functions. And I would suggest that you can't become financially literate or to master financial understanding when you believe that capitalism is about survival of the fittest, and when you have bastardized understandings of what even Darwin meant. And as is often the case, people talk about referencing Darwin and social Darwin's views of the world and theory had nothing to do with what would become social Darwinism and what is then applied to these discussions as survival of the fittest. That's not what Darwinism is. That's not what Darwin argued. And with all due respect to him, to the extent that he deserves it, I would encourage people to actually go and look at that, because the version that we heard there from Reggie, which is what we often hear about survival of the fittest as it relates to both Darwin and to capitalism, is false. Capitalism is about the programmed, predetermined, prearranged exploitation of labor for the accumulation of wealth for a handful of people. That's what it is. So how that it could be used in any other way than in the maybe Marxist way of creating a society whereby we now have the capability to produce everything that the world needs to lead us to socialism and eventually communism. Any other use of it or analysis of it, I think, is mistaken, including this one, that if we engage it, we will tip the balances of power. This is why people like Rockefeller and others would say competition is a sin. They're not here for competition. They're here for a very programmed extraction. So even those the out of, I think, context references to the power players of the past, so to speak, miss the point that the finances are being extracted and the wealth being created through influence of what is ultimately public policy, which is what determines how wealth is defined and who gets it. So this, and then it's also accumulated to the point specifically where its influence is used over politicians to prevent people from accessing political power to redetermine and redefine society. That's how I think it's better understood. So no, I'm not telling people to a certain extent, Reggie has me right. I'm not telling Black people or anyone else to strive to be at the top. I'm encouraging Black people and others to make sure there is no top, to get rid of the top, which, following his own baseball analogy, what the owners of these leagues seem to understand better than we do. They operate in a collusive way, redistributing the wealth that is created collectively by the league so that all of them share, which is why TV contracts pay all of the players' salaries in baseball, and the owners, not paying any of that, live off of the wealth created by consumers, by viewers, and then the people coming to the stadium pay everything else that goes again to the owners for redistribution. So even the weaker performing teams are not left behind, because a weak performing team in a league is worse than, or still better than rather, a non-existent league. So that would be the point. We should be redistributing wealth so that even the so-called lowly worker is not left out in the cold, which ultimately crashes civilization, when we would all do better. Which is why, again, if we look at even in this pandemic moment, all of the countries that are deemed more or less along the continuum described by Reggie somewhat accurately, along the lines closer to socialism, all those societies are doing better, because where there is centralized power as opposed to decentralization, which is encouraged through crypto and the current discussion around the blockchain technology, it's centralized power, organized and principled and beholden to its people, that improves society for everybody. So again, like I said, and I'll stop here, the point about we have to get our money right to get our politics right is exactly why Nixon and others and the advertising community for decades has been promoting that intentionally, to make sure we never get anywhere, because we can never catch up to an already consolidated a global economy in terms of ownership of that economy at the top sectors, and an already consolidated entry point to blockchain technology, which you say I don't want to talk about, but I've been bringing up constantly. And the consolidated exchanges, the consolidated access through the software to the blockchain technology, and even in your own discussion of your patented work, you would then become, or could then become, a singular gatekeeper through which all have to pay and enrich to gain access to this wondrous exchange and freedom of commerce. So that's why I'm saying what we need is political power that assures that the wealth we all help create gets redistributed back to all of us.
So
Okay, but
let me do this. Let me do this real quick, Reggie, before you go. So
ask a very straight to the point question. Okay, brother.
Say that again.
I want to ask Jared a straight question.
All
Are
right.
you wealthy?
Am I wealthy?
Yeah.
No, I'm underwater.
Okay, so
like most people.
Why should the patrons and listeners of this debate take your advice on wealth? You admit you're not wealthy, but you're opining upon wealth, and you're defining it, and you're advising on it. Explain.
Because nobody knows better than a well-studied member of the exploited how exploitation works. Nobody understands the prison system better than prisoners. So that's why they should listen. And because as someone who wants to see the world improve for the world, all of our great leaders come from where I'm coming from. They don't come from the ruling elite.
Wait, real quick. So Reggie, if you ask a question, right, but Jared answers not how you want him to answer it, and then you start talking, it's kind of like so you want to answer, and he's giving you an answer, but you don't like the answer, so you start. So I had to meet both of y'all for a second. So
that's not what's happening, though. It's not. I don't like the answer. If I didn't like the answer he's giving to my question, cool, I don't like it. He's answering another question, and he's been doing that since we sat down. So I'm asking him about his wealth, right? And
Which he said
without
he
wealth,
doesn't have, right?
right? And so I'm saying,
But and he also didn't say he's trying to teach people how to get wealth. So he's not wealthy. He's not trying to teach people how to get wealth. He didn't say that.
well, but wait a minute. He was opining on wealth earlier throughout a long time. Okay, so I'm not asking him to opine upon oppressed people. He was opining upon wealth. Now, if he doesn't have to answer the question the way I like it, but as a moderator, I would like for you to enforce him answering the question. You don't need to give me an answer that I like, but address the question. If you don't want to address it, just say I don't want to address it.
So
Okay.
let me ask you, Reggie, what is the wealth barrier? What is the wealth minimum to be reached before someone can give advice? How wealthy do you have to be?
I asked you, the one who started opining upon wealth.
I said,
okay.
but
okay. Oh, and let me clarify the question in case you misunderstand. You were opining upon wealth, giving a lot of information upon wealth and the wealthy, what they do, how they act. I asked if you were wealthy. You said no. And then I said, can you tell us why we should listen to you and your opinions and opining on wealth if you don't have it? That's like asking somebody who's never seen a horse before to describe the functions of a horse and how they behave.
No, it's like asking the person who runs the stable and actually works with the horses and feeds the horses and cleans the horses and births the horses if they know how the horses work, as opposed to just asking the owner who never steps out of the house. That's more like what's happening here. And apparently that is disturbing, but I get it.
It sounds good, but it's not accurate. So if I asked you, what is it like to own a horse, right? What is it like to be a horse owner? No matter how many times you sat in that stable and you took care of that horse, I'm not asking you what it's like to take care of the horse. I'm asking you what it's like to be a horse owner, right? Okay. This is not about good or bad, wealthy's good, not wealthy's bad, or anything such as that. What it is you are opining upon topics that you're not well versed in, particularly on particularly.
What have I got wrong about crypto though? Like we haven't ever got to that though. I've been making my argument for an hour. What have I got wrong?
Real quick. So I think this is the perfect time to go back and finish the structure. So the topic of the day, which I reached out to both of y'all and I said I believe that both of y'all have the intentions to help the collective of Black people, and so we should have this conversation. So it's really about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin liberation. And so what I want to do now is go back to a 5-minute for Reggie and 5 minutes for Jared to present your position and solutions for Black people as it pertains to cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, or whatever other digital that we have created. So Reggie, you go first. You have 5 minutes. After you speak for 5 minutes on your solutions and your position, Jared gonna give a rebuttal, and then Jared gonna do his 5 minutes, and you're gonna give a rebuttal, and we're gonna try to close out like that. So again, we're talking about Bitcoin, we're talking about cryptocurrency, and we're talking about the collective economic, political conditions of Black people. All right, and so if you will kindly, brother, go ahead, and you have up to 5 minutes. You don't have to use 5 minutes, but up to 5 minutes to speak about the solution.
I'm not gonna speak for 5 minutes. I've already stated my case. For one, you have to learn what it is. It's not currencies, okay? So if you go in thinking they're currencies, thinking it's an investment, you're off the wrong direction. So you have to know what you're talking about before you start talking. It's very important. Most of the time when people take advantage of you, they take advantage of your ignorance, okay? Don't be ignorant. Ignorance is a decision, okay? It's not a condition. And once you learn, then you empower yourself.
But wait a minute, Reggie. I don't mean to interrupt. I want to let you finish, but this is really important. Please break that down, though. Please stop for a minute, because nobody is going to understand when you say it's not currency and it's not an investment, because that is the basis of almost every single discussion taking place everywhere. Please.
You don't say it. I listened to the brother, and he jumps in.
No, I just want that clear. Trying to interrupt.
I was clarify that from the very, very beginning, because from the very beginning, I asked you to define crypto in the blockchain industry. You kept pushing back the currencies, and I corrected you at least 3 or 4 times. You kept coming back to currencies. Okay, it's a technology, just like the internet was a technology, just like the cell phones was a technology, just like personal computers, a technology, calculators, the physical telephone, electricity, fire, technologies. Learn the technology. Okay, the primary premise of this technology is peer-to-peer value transfer. Okay, you're looking at the media and what the media says, right? That is going to lead you down a path of ignorance because either they don't know what they're talking about, those who write these articles, or they have an agenda or a bias. That agenda is not necessarily your agenda. If you're a young Black man or woman, I can guarantee you it's not your agenda at all. So simply learn. It's not a simple topic, so I can't go through all of it now, but here's someone who really knows what he's talking about, telling you, calling it a cryptocurrency means you don't know what you're doing. So rewind and start from scratch. Read the Bitcoin white paper, read the Bitcoin Wiki, read the Ethereum white paper, right? Read the yellow paper, read all of my writings. Talk to me, join my groups. Learn. It's just that simple. Ignorance is a decision, right? It is not a condition.
So you still have 3 minutes, and do you feel like you can explain what he just asked you in those 3 minutes before he gives us a rebuttal?
I just did. Here, let's try it one more time.
Okay.
Okay. Learn how the technology works. I gave you 4 or 5 sources to start with. Learn how it works, learn what it is. Okay. If you go through all this and you're still talking currency, you need to go back and learn again. Okay. Go to my YouTube channel. Okay. It is a technology that allows value transfer, usually conditional, sometimes not. That's what it is. It's not a currency. It's not a dollar. It's not a yen. It's not a euro. It's just off. It's way off. So I don't need 3 minutes to say that. I don't want to convince you of it, because if I convince you of it, then you're not listening. Okay?
All right. So Jared, up to 3 minute rebuttal.
So I just want to be clear. I've always come at these issues primarily as an Africana and media scholar, less particularly a professionally trained economist. So all I can really say at this point is that it has to at this point be 99% of the discussion, including on your own channel and on your own videos. Certainly in the economic literature, certainly in the books written by Black people to talk about their engagement with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and blockchain. Certainly when it's discussed in terms of the Binance and Coinbase platforms and the gateways that work as ISPs that allow access to the blockchain. All of that is discussed both in terms of a software and technology at its base in terms of the ISP part, the analogous, the similar ISP relationship played, and the underlying blockchain technology, and in terms of Bitcoin, Ethereum, even for a time Vericoin, your own coin or token, as that which will not just be encrypted. I think you said potentially valuable data, but as what will free Black people as a currency replacement for an ever devaluing dollar. That the dollar is devaluing, but because Bitcoin can only be mined to a certain extent, it can never be inflated out of value, and so on and so on and so on. In other words, as a hedge against inflation, this is the discussion. Here you come to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. No one knows what they're talking about. And that the whole, when I do read the Bitcoin white paper, whoever Nakamoto is very clear in saying, here is a software technology that will allow for the exchange of encrypted information, including a Bitcoin, which is meant to give people an alternative currency to a consolidated power banking world. So if all of that is wrong, then I don't think you've done a good enough job in explaining how that is wrong, and then how that is going to turn around and be used to actually change the material conditions of Black people or anyone else. So I'll end by saying this. You mentioned what was the theory or the psychological label that you threw out earlier? But one that I'm at least I forgot actually what you just said. But what the one I'm familiar with, at least one of them, is continued influence effect. And this is an effect of, that is encouraged by propaganda to create a situation where even when confronted with opposing science and data, if it causes people to change their underlying core ideological beliefs, they resist it. So that's why I keep coming back to propagated mythology that is about promoting capitalism as a solution, and currently for crypto and Bitcoin and blockchain even as a technology to be a tool for liberation.
So Jared, I want you to, obviously you kind of put it in that statement, but I want you to again finalize your statement on your position, your solution on the topic. Again, with the conversation that both of y'all agreed to have is cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, a liberating tool for African or Black people. And so if you can please, up to 5 minutes, give your solution, your final statement. Reggie, you have up to 3 minutes to rebuttal. And then as we close out, I do want to give the audience opportunity to ask both of y'all questions. There's been a bunch of questions and I couldn't get to them, but I want to give them an opportunity, if y'all have time, to get questions in after Jared's final statement and Reggie's rebuttal. So up to 5 minutes. You don't have to use the 5 minutes. Up to 3 minutes.
Again, I just think we need a political solution to a political problem. We don't need a narrowly defined economic solution to a political problem. We can't invest our way and engage an unfree market economy in such a way to change the inequality that is produced by that system and that market. So I think we need a political outcome, a political assumption of political power that says, whether you are brilliant and understand all of this or whether you don't, you help create the wealth that, at least in this country, in the United States, is roughly $20 trillion in GDP. That wealth should be redistributed so that nobody is suffering. And that is a political solution.
I mean, it's 4 minutes. Any other things on that? All right. So Reggie, any rebuttal or response to what he said about political power and wealth?
I mean, all the same. I feel I've been repeating myself. I'll repeat myself for another minute. Knowledge is the key. True education, right? Not academic matriculation, not rote memorization, not doing a Google search and thinking what you read is a fact. Okay, the brother is absolutely wrong. He doesn't understand the technology. He doesn't understand the industry, which is cool because nobody's asking anybody to be a technologist, a financial wizard, etc. But the weakness is not realizing you don't know, or even worse, pretending you do know and fooling yourself and moving forward based upon that misinformation. That's where the damage is done. Okay, as I said before, political power follows economic might throughout all of history, including right now. If you don't want to look at history, look at the present. Okay, saying that you don't want brothers and sisters, Blacks, to pursue capital is destructive to the Black race. You will always be subjugated by those who have more capital than you. You could become that group that has capital. Once you have the capital, do what you want with it. You want to be benevolent, with benevolence defined as whatever you want, because you will be the one defining it because you have the capital. Okay? Don't want the capital, then you are voluntarily giving up to somebody else. It's just that simple, right? It is a zero-sum game. Okay? So do you want to be on top? Do you want to be on the bottom? And once you're on top, if you want to make rule changes, then you're free to make them because you're the one that makes the rules.
Right. So real quick, I want a couple people, as you got questions, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, throw your questions in. This first question looks like it's to Reggie. How have your efforts in Nigeria and Ghana benefited the common man, woman in those countries? Or, as I suspect, has his supposed work to continue hegemony of the ultra rich? Reggie, you can go and respond to that.
Okay, so basically he's asking a question. He's making a comment based as a question. It's cute. Okay. What I did was I introduced a gold stabilized currency because the Nigerian naira is very soft, suffers from inflation significantly. So the common man, right, buys things in naira. The naira goes down in value. Real assets such as real estate, commodities, etc., fly up in price because the naira is going down. Normalized by gold, which Nigeria is actually relatively rich in, okay, not only does real estate not go up beyond the common man's ability to pay for it, it actually goes down in price because gold increases relative to the naira faster than real estate does. That helps the common man. So your assumption was incorrect. Now, I couldn't make that widespread in Nigeria because my litigation with US regulators, and believe it or not, I think there are 2 blacks in the industry who had significant success. Coincidentally, there are 2 blacks who were taken out by the government. It's coincidence, right? Again, as I was saying, with more blacks in power, you probably have less abuse, if there was abuse, along racial lines.
Okay.
So that's an answer to the question. So his assumption was off, and I showed him how it's done. Okay.
Right. So, I'm
especially
sorry.
African nations have soft currencies. You're hard in the currency. You help everybody, but especially the common man. Wealthy people, right, can buy risky assets that go up in value. They're not hurt by inflation. The working man, those who rely on wages and salaries, are the people who are hurt most by inflation. Not just in Africa, in America, in Chicago, New York, LA, in the countries, in the rural areas, the suburbs, everywhere. Inflation hurts the little guy. Okay.
Right. So I think this next question is for Jared. And it's interesting. You said if more Africans were in power, and according to what I understand that you're saying, in order for them Africans to get into power, which would be political power, is to financially get themselves up to that power. It's kind of, we probably touched on that later, but Jared, go ahead and respond to this one, and then you can go back to that. But it was kind of like iffy for me there. What does it mean to be on top in regards to political power for Black people? So Jared, you can respond to this, and then you can even respond to this because you might have another way of getting there. But go ahead, Jared, you first.
Well, I mean, how we get there, I think, has to be determined in off record and in politically organized movement spaces. But the what does it mean to be on top in terms of political power? To me, is again the ability to say, for instance, to determine everything, to determine what is going to be traded, what value will be applied to whatever currency is being determined to be used. Political power, might be the ability to say, hey, look, if Reggie's plan is actually good, we would have the political power in Nigeria to say, we don't care what US regulators say, we're going to enact it and make it widespread and adopt it and resist what would surely be the coming colonial powers and their resistance to that. But my point is, political power is again, like Huey and Bobby said, the ability to define phenomena and have it act in a desired manner. So it is the ability to define everything from what is wealth to how it's distributed to who gets it. And that's where I think we need to be thinking. And really, because the only political power we have is the only power we have is in the potential to be politically organized in our numbers. We're never going to catch up to the wealth that has been accumulated by the top 1%. It is ever decreasing in terms of the numbers of people who have it in the world. So we're never going to catch up to that, to be able to influence the political system via money in the way that Reggie and others are advocating. The only way we're going to be able to do that is to have a movement where money's involvement in the political apparatus is moot, made impossible or irrelevant.
All right. So we got another question for Reggie, but you can respond to that if you want to at all. But the other question might be more sufficient.
Are you talking to me?
No, Reggie.
Oh, sorry.
So to begin with, okay, if you say having a discussion about money, okay, and wealth means you probably don't understand what wealth is, right? The wealthier people, the wealthier you are, the less money you have, by definition. The more money you have, the poorer you are, by definition. Okay, money depreciates. We just got finished saying how inflation hurts the little man. It hurts the little man because the little man is forced to deal with money. With the big man deals with capital assets. So when inflation is rampant, what happens to capital assets? They fly up in price. They're not really going up in price. The money is going down in value, which makes the assets priced higher. So if you get paid in capital assets and I got paid in money, I get poorer, you get wealthier. So if you have a discussion of wealth, you're talking about money, then you don't understand wealth. That's why I was asking the brother Jared, not to be condescending to him, ask him if he was wealthy, and if he isn't wealthy, then he probably is not qualified to opine upon wealth. Okay. Now, as for the answer to the question, the comment that you made earlier, power is power. Okay, you could put dressings on it and say political power or economic power. Power is the ability to enforce your will upon others. Okay, those with economic might have control over the political power. It's rarely the other way around. So this economic might, this is political power, they're intertwined. It appears that you are trying to paint it, not you individually, but you as a group are trying to paint little nice little circles. Economic power here, social power here, political power there. Power is power. Power is the ability to enforce your will upon others. Really just that simple.
So,
okay?
which is a good thing, right? So if you, like you said, you was able to build wealth, right? So Kalanji says,
I never said.
Okay, well, it seemed insinuated that you was able to build some kind of wealth, as opposed.
But go ahead. I'm not
going. But whatever. Like you teach it. I would hope you got some money, like speaking in authority. But Kalanji says, congratulations on your wealth, because I thought you was insinuating that you had wealth. But what's on the ground that's tangible contributions have you assisted the people with? And where can we see the proof? So with whatever you're creating, right? You're the man in the cryptocurrency space. Like you said, you're more popular than Elon Musk. And Elon Musk got some wealth. We know that.
Y'all just making things up and throwing my name in them, but okay.
But you said that. You said that. I was like, it's either you or
Elon Musk, brother. I said that.
What'd you say?
I said I was more popular than Elon Musk.
Well, you said in the crypto space, you that guy, you that dude.
No, I'm more influential than Elon Musk in the crypto space because
influential. Okay, all right. You're the most influential. All right.
Right.
So you can influence some things, right?
I have intellectual property assets in the crypto space that are very, very powerful. I would say that.
Okay.
More so.
Okay. So, but you still can answer this question since you have powerful things. You can still answer this question, right? Or is this not?
Well, what's the question? What's the question?
The question is, so we'll forget the congrats on being wealthy because we don't know if you're wealthy yet. But what's on the ground tangible contributions have you assisted the people with? And where can we see the proof? So again, with the powerful things you have, how have you assisted the people? And could you kind of tell us about some proof that we can go check upon?
Well, I just got the U.S. patent last month, so I ask you to give me a little time. But I live my life, right, helping others. Okay, throughout the Boom Bust blog days, which was my blog, 2007 to about 2014, I've made maybe hundreds of millionaires, hundreds. Okay, on the ground level, the brother Jared said he didn't see any proof. You could Google my name. Google Reggie Middleton teacher students, Reggie Middleton in school, Reggie Middleton education. Google Reggie Middleton in Nigeria, Reggie Middleton in Ghana, and see what I do on the ground. Okay, my most powerful thing. See, a lot of people with money try and justify complacent actions by giving money away. I told you, wealthy people do not have much money. They have productive assets. Poor people deal in money. If money was the solution to the problem, then the problem wouldn't exist. You had a lot of wealthy people who gave a lot of money, not assets, gave a lot of money to solve problems with poverty, etc. The problems are there and they're persistent, and they're going to be persistent because money is not the solution, because money was never the problem. It's access and opportunity that is the problem. Give out opportunity, and in less than one generation, you would solve capable, willing Black people being in extreme poverty. So, but you see, hold 1 second, that's not going to happen unless those on the top are willing to give up or risk giving up a significant part of that position. Okay, so it's a game. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a shell game. I'm going to give out money to Africa or the ghetto or the inner city or the rural poor. Money, the lack of money is not how they got there. It's lack of opportunity that put them there, and it will keep them there. So you can give them money, that money cycles right back out in one cycle. Give them the opportunity, And then those who want to learn and want to try with just a little bit of guidance. They don't need 15 years of education, right? They need one person that could show them the light and be that beacon. And they will come out just like the white people came out, and the Chinese people and the Japanese, etc. Opportunity, drive, intelligence is not racially specific. It's not geographically specific. It's not age or gender specific. Okay, but create an institution that locks somebody down and make sure they don't get out. You could throw money on top of it all you want, because the lock is opened by money. It's opened by opportunity. Opportunity is the key.
So real quick, you said I think it's the white papers that Jared read and you read as well. Have you ever read anything about like the government's political diversions and the program of Black capitalism? Have you ever like read or studied any of that?
I don't read a lot on Black capitalism, but I'm a Black man. I've been growing up as a Black man, right? I am well versed in the strive for the Black man.
What I'm saying is, have you ever read any of the, or studied any of the?
No, I don't. What I do is I study my own life and how I grew up.
And that's why it's beautiful, because if one day if you decide to read it, you'll hear everything that you just said in policy, like the opportunity zones and this and that. Like you literally, everything that you've said, even though you said that's your experience, almost everything you said, you will hear political machines preaching this instead of actually public policy and economic justice and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, although you didn't read it, you will hear it.
Zones do not distribute opportunity. Opportunity zones are easily bastardized politically and economically. That's why they didn't work. Okay, because it's not a distribution of opportunity. Just because you hear the word opportunity and opportunity zone doesn't mean it's a distribution of opportunity. Right? I know a lot of people, I know hedge funds that specifically invest in opportunity zones to bastardize it and manipulate it. Okay, a distribution of opportunity is a direct distribution. I directly give your son the same opportunity to reach the same point as somebody else, with everything else remaining the same. Opportunity zones don't do that. It's very difficult to do that politically, very difficult, because even with the best intentions, right, the political system is easily bastardized when capital gets to it. That's why I said capital controls politics, not the other way around.
Okay. All right.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to support what Reggie said about everybody Googling him and his experiences in Africa, because I think it's fascinating for what I'm just seeing here, and it seems it's a lot of fitness, something fun and fitness presentations, and bringing your product and into meetings with, for instance, the head of Ghana's stock exchange and stuff like that. So I encourage people to check it out. To see.
I'm glad. Now that this is how you research, right? There's this thing called primary sources, right? My name is Reggie.
I just started. You just said Google yourself and do that. So I just did it starting right here, and I've seen both in a number of websites and news stories about you meeting with the head of the stock exchange and bringing your patented product and own product to Ghana.
I want to teach your audience how to research. There's this thing called primary sources. When you want to know the truth, you go straight to the truth. My name is Reggie Middleton. You want to find out?
Wait a minute. Can I share screens? Because I mean, it's your page. I'm on your Facebook page. You talk about primary sources. I'm on your Facebook page. Reggie Middleton brings Veritasium to the Ghana Stock Exchange.
So let's
I know this person talking, right? And he's going to try and talk over me. Brother, easy. So primary sources. You want to know what Reggie Middleton does? You go to Reggie Middleton and ask, right? You can't ask me directly. Go to my YouTube channel and take a look at what we've done. Okay. When we go to Nigeria, before I got to the stock exchange, right? I went to the jungle. I went to the ghettos. I talked to everybody. Took a path all the way through. Went to Ghana, did the same thing. Abidjan, the same thing. Johannesburg, the same thing. Okay. Now, if I have a business and my business caters to X, Y, and Z, you're going to see that. But if you want to know what actually happens, don't look at newspaper articles. Don't take Jared's word for it. Go to Reggie Middleton's YouTube channel.
No, you were asked right here, and you said go. Nobody say take my word for it. You were asked right here. You said go Google. You
we
literally
have
said go Google, and I did.
Jared.
And
We
on
have
your Facebook page.
Jared. We have an issue with etiquette because you consistently jump in and interrupt consistently. Okay, it's lacking in etiquette, brother. Love your brother and treat him
No,
as
actually, I had asked to make a statement and you interrupted me. So I had asked Geechee, who had let you finish, if I could make a statement. He said yes, and I interjected that statement. So nobody was cutting you off. You actually were cutting me off. So your etiquette, as is your definition of capitalism and all of this other stuff, is upside down and backwards. But
So you didn't cut me off this conversation, brother? Yes, you did. Go ahead. Many times, may I add. Go ahead. I can't hear you.
Geechee, now you're muted.
My
Yeah.
bad. See, I was interrupting y'all while I was muted. But yeah, I interrupted both of y'all. My bad. I'm sorry. This is an important conversation, I feel. So I know we got to get to picking up people in other engagements. Was there something like, so Reggie, you said that, I know what we agreed to, but what did you feel like where the conversation should have gone? I've have a sister who's in the techno space, and she said, I hope he doesn't go to financial aspects, but hope he go to the technology aspects of it. And so it sounded like you was kind of thrusting that, but where should the conversation have gone? And if all of us are so illfully prepared to talk about technology and crypto, could you kind of help us without selling something? Because I think a lot of people anticipate that you was going to sell something, but without selling something, could you tell us where should the conversation go as opposed to wealth, but more to technology, if that makes sense?
This is the issue. You can't really separate wealth from the technology because the technology is a tool, right, to accumulate value in one form or the other, and the value attributes to wealth. Okay. As for selling you something, I have nothing to sell you. So, the stuff that I deal in, you don't buy, not directly at least. So I think I'm one of the best people to ask because, listen, I have a love for Black people, right? I have no ulterior motives at all. Okay, I don't benefit from you buying or not buying something, except for the fact I like to see you do better or worse. So the conversation should be exactly that, a conversation. So instead of coming to me saying, well, I know this and this is what it does, if you're not 100% sure, simply ask. And I'll answer to the best of my ability. Okay. And I'll try and guide you along the way. I explain Bitcoin. What the blockchain is a database operating system, right? That allows strangers to do business and come to a conclusion of what the truth is without one single entity, company, or government having to say so. Okay. And on that operating system, they made an application. And the Bitcoin with a lowercase b is the first application on the operating system, which is Bitcoin with the uppercase b. And that application was a peer-to-peer internet money. Okay, since then, other applications were written. That's what my company did, etc. Then came Ethereum, and they said, you know something? We can make an operating system that's much more dynamic than a Bitcoin operating system, because that Bitcoin operating system was designed for just one application. So Ethereum made an operating system where you could put many applications on. And that's why Ethereum became so popular all of a sudden, and is now much more popular for development than Bitcoin. And now you have many, many other operating systems. Okay, it's the operating system where the value is, and the applications are to be written on top of it. Take the internet. The internet is like an operating system, and this application, StreamYard, you're using on the operating system to do this video. You also use email and Amazon and Facebook and millions of other applications. Okay, now it would be nonsensical to say learning how these operating systems work, learning how to make these applications, and learning how to use them is bad for Black people, right? If we could have gotten, as a matter of fact, here's a better way of looking at it. Black people have invented most of the basic inventions for all these technologies. Look up the real McCoy. Why people say the real McCoy, who he is. Voice over IP was invented by a Black woman, patent holding. The IBM PC, invented by a Black man, but he didn't get intellectual property rights over it. IBM did, unfortunately. Okay, so when I say learn and avoid ignorance, when you invent something, and brothers and sisters have invented a bunch of the technology that we're using right now to have this phone call. Okay, get ownership of it. Learn how the patent system works. Get patents. Take ownership of your inventions. Learn how the system works. Ignorance is a decision. Okay, it is not a condition. So if you go back, just type in, here's something you can Google, Black inventors. Okay, outside of Benjamin Banneker and Peanuts, etc., you take a look at them, you will see brothers and sisters have invented so much, but they didn't have ownership over their own intellectual property. And those who do have ownership over own intellectual property have accumulated wealth. They don't need to be the minority. This should be taught in school. Why aren't patents taught in grade school? It should be. You know, you should learn how to patent something before you get to high school.
So real quick, Isaiah jumped in there and he left, I guess. But have you read Isaiah's book? What is it? Bitcoin in Black America. Have you read that?
No, I don't really have time to read too many books.
Well, do you know? I would assume you know Isaiah. Have you?
Yeah.
Would you approve of his arguments or his positions or anything that he's put out there?
They push Bitcoin maximalism, which I don't, because from an investment perspective, that's concentrating your investment portfolio, which is very, very dangerous. Okay, so risk mitigation, making sure that you get the requisite amount of return for every unit of risk you take means that you don't want to concentrate into anything unless you're sure that anything will blow up. And since nobody's absolutely sure, you need to diversify. So I don't think they preach diversification as much as I would, but that's not a negative, because I think Isaiah is very cool people. Okay, that's my disagreement from intellectual investment perspective.
But you must also disagree with him then, because in his book, Bitcoin in Black America, he says clearly Bitcoin is in fact both a currency and a long-term investment. So and he's encouraging Black people to invest in Bitcoin and to exchange Bitcoin to supplant the dollar, the ever devaluing dollar. That's exactly my point. So when you're accusing me of not understanding what I'm talking about, what I'm saying is I'm only responding to what everybody else is saying, and in terms of and how they're writing about it and discussing it. So as in whether a professional academic or just someone who enjoys intellectualism, I would never discourage reading books. In fact, I continue to read more, and the more I read in this area, the more I understand that what I'm saying contradicts your attempt to, I think, deflect from the conversation. But the reality is Bitcoin is discussed as currency and a long-term investment, and again, a replacement of the dollar and other currencies. The other thing is you keep saying, when you talk about the technology, again, being a decentralized platform, what I keep saying, and the evidence is very clear, whether it's Binance or Coinbase as exchanges, or whether it's those the names are escaping me at the moment, the two dominant companies through which people have to go to access blockchain, is all consolidated, as is the wealth being created from all of this. So that's why I'm saying, well, what I've been saying.
So, brother, when did I mention the word decentralized? Give me a little
just
time.
Now in your just in the very last thing you said in your discussion, just now, in the last thing you said, in the last response you gave in your discussion of what Bitcoin and blockchain are. You said a decentralized ledger, I believe was the exact phrase.
Okay, being a decentralized ledger does not mean that the technology is decentralized. Again, that's misunderstanding. And I'm not expecting to be a technologist. So I'm not saying, whoa, you're stupid, you didn't know that. I'm not saying that. But you didn't understand it. The problem is, on top of not understanding it, you're preaching as if you did.
Okay, so break it down. What did I misunderstand?
Well, number one, I didn't call it decentralized, right? I don't feel Bitcoin is truly decentralized. Okay. Also, when I disagreed with Zay, I disagreed because he's pushing, right, Bitcoin as a core investment holding, right? No, it shouldn't be. It should be, right, for those who want to take the risk in the portfolio. Okay, but Bitcoin has been. Ethereum has eclipsed Bitcoin a long time ago, and Ethereum is at the precipice of being eclipsed itself. So instead of looking at these name brands, which is what you should not be doing, but what you are doing, you need to look and understand the technology and the macro aspects behind it, and take advantage of it. Get on the You grab ownership of this. Grab ownership of it. So as it progresses, you progress with it. Okay? That's what I'm saying. Very, very big difference. But, you know, believe it or not, you agree with me by mistake. Because I said that Zam may use terminology that, you know, you probably didn't get at the time. But I'm saying you should not concentrate on Bitcoin. Because when you concentrate your portfolio on one thing, you increase your risk unnecessarily. Okay? Bitcoin already has been. Bitcoin has political issues that prevents it from growing like Ethereum did. Okay? Ethereum grew like gangbusters, but, you know, success has bogged it down. Okay? So you have others coming into the play. You can't predict the future. The only thing I can say is this technology will take over just like the internet. This is Internet 2.0. Okay? So instead of trying to guess which name brand succeeds, understand, grasp, and own the technology. Own it, right? These titans of capitalism, there's no reason in the world why they can't be black, unless there are not enough blacks to get in to protect themselves. The sort of 2 or 3 blacks that are in there are taken out, which is what happened actually. So it could be that all blacks break the law, or maybe the blacks aren't as well protected as some of the others. So, I'll let you figure that one out.
So I have a question, and maybe we can kind of go towards here. So, Reggie, do you believe that African people in America, across the diaspora in Africa, are politically and economically oppressed or dominated? It's like a yes or no question, really. Do you believe that we are?
Yeah.
Okay. And your solution or your thrust to help us get liberated is exactly what? Understanding crypto, understanding technology, so that we could amass wealth to, or money to also amass political power. Is that your line of thinking?
Oh no, let's forget money. Remember, the more money you have, the poorer you are. Just remember to keep saying it over and over. Forget what you heard on TV, forget what you learned in school, forget what everybody else is telling you. The more money you have, the poorer you are. Period. Because money loses money. Money loses wealth. Okay, assets gain wealth. Okay, learn the tech. When you have a paradigm shift, and the paradigm shift, the old technology goes, the new technology comes. The business cycles and business models match it. When you see something going up, you grab it, grab ownership of it. And as it goes up, your economic position increases with it. Okay? It's just that simple, right? The rising tide comes, you want to have a boat in it. You don't want to work for people who have a boat in it. You don't have to sit on the shore and watch the boat rise. And you don't want to have to talk trash about people who are rising on the boat. You want to be on that boat. As a matter of fact, you want to sell access to more boats for people to get on. And if you do it and you teach other brothers to do it and teach other sisters to do it and they teach others, then everybody rises. Okay, the people who are
it's like a trickle down. Is it like a trickle down type thing?
Trickle down is going for self, right? Looking out for self. It's called self-education. That trickle down is trickle self. Okay, learn. Ignorance again is a decision and it's not a condition.
So this is not a jab now, but you said, when I asked you about the black capitalism and the political thing, you said you don't have time to read those things. So would you, by chance, be ignorant of that information because you didn't study or read it, or?
It all depends what the information is. I have no idea. I know where I'm very knowledgeable, though. I'm very knowledgeable on global macroeconomics. I'm very knowledgeable on capitalism in this country, most of the greater EU. I'm very knowledgeable in Africa economics and finance. I'm very knowledgeable in investment, very much so. And I've proven I'm extremely knowledgeable in technology in the blockchain space with getting the Aboriginal patents from back in 2014. So I know what I know, and I honestly know what I don't know. As a matter of fact, the most valuable part of my knowledge portfolio is being aware of what I don't know and being cognizant of it instead of pretending that I do. Because I know where my weaknesses are, I know where my strengths are. You will never hear me or see me pretend that I know something I didn't. You asked me about black capitalism, right? Prima facie, on its face, it's capitalism with blacks, okay? But whether I've learned, am I well learned on that particular topic as someone has written it? No.
Right.
And I'm the first to admit it.
Right.
Just like you're not going to hear me allow somebody to opine about you know, blockchain technology and then call everything currency. We're like 1% of the currencies.
Right.
Okay,
So,
I know what I don't know.
so Jared said something, a couple things that he agreed with you on.
Okay.
Have you found anything, real quick, have you found anything that you agree with Jared on? Any positions that he said today, do you find anything you agree with him on?
Actually, not a whole lot, but I think some of you agreed on Zay. You did agree on that. He just said that. You did agree on Zay. I know you didn't realize you agreed with me, Jared, but if you go back and listen to what you said the same thing I did. So
I think the exact opposite. I think if you go back and actually pay attention to what I'm saying, but see, we didn't, because what I was actually asking was that, again, you were claiming that I'm ignorant of the technology. And what I'm saying is, much like Isaiah Jackson has done in his book, everyone else, including you on your own videos and discussions and platforms, which is why I find what you're doing here today very interesting. And I do encourage people to be on this. Go watch your videos as I've done, do the research into your history with this space and economic analysis as I've done. I encourage all of that, because I mean, that at least stark difference will be evident. But my point was with Jackson's work was that you were saying that I was ignorant of the technology and not aware of what it really is. And when I make references to cryptocurrency and investment, I don't know what I'm talking about. That's his whole book. His book, just like everything else in the discussion, his book is about. But again, I thought I was the one with the ethics problem. Again, because you're cutting me off. I thought I was the one, and yet you're cutting me off. So what I was saying was that you can't agree with Jackson's book, because you're saying he, like me and everyone else, is ignorant of the technology because it's being discussed as an investment opportunity for Black people to overturn their inequality, which is, again, an old, I would have hoped discarded, but understandably, repropagated mythological argument, this Black capitalist ethic that we can invest our way. So just very clearly, because I know you keep saying I don't understand what I'm talking about, but I do endeavor to do research and I do endeavor to learn. So, and when I learn, what I see is, again, whether I understand the concept of decentralized platform ledger, even though you said you didn't say that, what I am meaning when I say it is that all of this technology that you are saying we should become owners of is itself already largely owned by the same wealthy elite classes that have continued and were in existence beforehand and continue to increase their wealth as a result of all of this exchange and investment in cryptocurrency, using however people are using the blockchain, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, creating smart contracts using your patented technology, which I've read about and watched you discuss, in creating new capital formation, capital markets. In other words, what I never hear is how poor people go from not being poor and having political power and control over their lives and the destiny and getting a better piece of the wealth they have helped create, even if they weren't the ones understanding the technology or exchanging in that moment, which is what, again, I think you fail to understand about how capitalism actually works. And this idea that only the elite and the people investing and buying are creating wealth. That's exactly not the truth. So anyway, I guess that's it.
Okay, so I gotta go, but in closing, I agree with you with Zay, right? Zay is not everybody. Zay is Zay. Okay, I told you focusing on Bitcoin is the wrong direction, right? We agreed, and then you went off the rails again.
Because that's not what I said.
So it's like this: Bitcoin has been. Bitcoin is not the industry. Bitcoin is where the media is. It is not the industry. It's not even close. Right? Most of the big industry is not focusing on Bitcoin. You also talk as if I don't know what poverty is, or I don't know what the Black struggle is. Listen, I'm a Black man through and through. See, I got my bullet scars, right? Got attacked by the cops, Black through and through. I'm just not stereotypically Black, right? I strive. And no brother is stereotypically bad, because how you're portrayed is not how you are. Okay, so don't fall for that, how you're portrayed. If they portray you on TV, that's someone's portrayal on TV. Okay, I told you, in terms of Black inventors, look them up, it will blow your mind. You would not be having this conversation if it wasn't for a sister. You would not be able to boot a computer if it wasn't for a brother that invented the computer. On and on and on and on. The difference is, a lot of them did not lay claim to their intellectual property, so they didn't own it, right? That's what we should be doing. I fear the brother Jared is trying to dissuade brothers from not only learning the technology, but taking ownership of it, which means you just go fall further and further behind. So on that note, I got to jump off and do a video on these same patents. And by the way, I was poor, and I now have ownership over what Jared says only the big multi-industry nationals have. Now you could have a nasty fight, because they're coming after me, hook, line, and sinker, nasty weapons, just like the SEC thing that Jared with this ad hominem. But we're gonna let you go over that. But
wasn't ad hominem. It was. I didn't even bring it up. It was a case. The federal government intervened. It's not. I didn't bring it up. Ad hominem.
You interrupt me. So there's going to be a big nasty fight, because they, like Jared, don't think that a brother should have this ownership. They think, listen, you're out of your lane. All right, I disagree.
But that's not what I said. And Reggie, I know I'm interrupting because you're about to leave, but I wanted you to explain that. I wanted you to talk about your technology and explain it. You didn't do it.
So let me just get my point off, and then when I go, you can say whatever you want. Okay, so they, like Jared, don't feel I should be going after this. I disagree with Jared, and I disagree with these big titans. And we'll see, right, how it plays out. Normally, this would play out in the media. But notice the media has not run one page on me about this, because they don't want word to get out. Now, you do a search for negative items, and it's all over the place. And those negative items mostly are wrong. But talk about how I allegedly got hacked. Everybody else gets hacked. I get allegedly hacked. SEC issues, through the press release. Notice they never ran anything about my reply to that. That's never in the news. Okay, so Jared, you have more in common with those big titans of industry than I think you believe you do. Hopefully, both of you wrong and I'm right. We'll see in a minute. So I got to go. I got 2 minutes to set up for this next interview. Okay, brothers?
All right.
Peace.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right. So we can wrap up. Don't have much more to say. I don't think it should be one side, but thank you for your time.
You're right. No, thank him. I thank you for hosting it. I appreciate. And the only thing I would want to say that I would want to have said to him is I do want people to look up his technology. I actually have that as a question. I asked it earlier. I want him to lay that out. I want people to understand that. And it wasn't that I don't want him to have control of the technology. I just am arguing that that's not going to help everybody else. Right. He's in line, and I've even said it on my own show, he's in line to be, that's why I wanted him to explain, because I said, if I understood what I was reading, he's in line to be maybe the richest man in the world. So, because he does the patent, I looked it up, the patent that he owns, Litecoin and them, they are using his patent. So if he, again, it seems like all he has to do is step up and say, either pay me or you can't use it, and he's going to be in line to get a lot of money. So I wanted him to talk about it, but anyway, thank you very much, man. I appreciate you doing this.
Absolutely. Well, maybe he will be able to buy militaries and some other political power so that he can defend himself. So, yeah. I
hope so.
Me too. Anyway, everybody, thank you for tuning in. You can rewatch, keep commenting, and yeah, we'll see y'all next time. Peace, y'all.